The optimism continues from him, which is nothing new. He spoke to reporters today for the first time since being diagnosed with that impingement in his shoulder. Take a listen to some of what he had to say.
There's not really a time frame on it. It's when it gets right. I mean, you can't put a time period on how long it's going to take to get back to be able to throw. But when it's ready, then I will.
Are you going to keep swinging in the meantime while you rehab the shoulder, or are you shutting all that down?
No, I think that I'm able to kind of do other things. I think right now my number one priority is the shoulder, but certainly I want to stay in that baseball shape and go work out with my teammates and stuff and do everything I can to kind of keep my feet under me.
David, what was your reaction when you heard it was an impingement? Because it could have been a lot worse. So is there some relief that it wasn't like a surgical thing?
Yeah, I mean, it's, at this point, missing any time is frustrating. But, like you said, I guess, in the grand scheme of things, it could have been better, could have been worse. I just knew something wasn't right. And, it doesn't do anybody any good, trying to go out there and, play a position that requires throwing when you can't throw.
Were you feeling pain right from the first catch session? Throwing session?
Yeah, I mean, it's, something where, I hadn't thrown for so long that, at first you're not sure if it's, normal. So we threw through it for a few times, and then it just, didn't get any better. So it's time to, go get it checked out and make sure that we're on the right program.
David, your understanding is that this traces back to like fatigue, or not fatigue, but like lack of muscles developing there from inactivity.
Yeah, I mean, I think that it comes from, I guess when I originally hurt my neck, I didn't have the surgery till probably unbeknownst to me, a few months later. So they said kind of once that happens, my shoulder just, stopped working properly and kind of shut down. So now it's just a matter of, because the whole point of your shoulder is to kind of protect your, your labrum and your rotator cuff. So, when my shoulder's not working properly, it continues to hit the rotator cuff, and that's what's causing the pain. So you just got to get your shoulder functioning correctly, so that it starts protecting that and you don't have that sharp pain.
But has any of the doctors suggested, hey, this is just something you're going to have the rest of the day because you have instability or whatever, expect that you will have shoulder problems from time to time?
No, it's independent. Well, no, it's kind of been told to me that if I do the rehab correctly, if I give it time to strengthen the shoulder to get the shoulder working properly, that everything should be good to go. Obviously with some maintenance, from here on, but when you have, I guess, that major neck surgery that I have, I certainly wasn't expecting problems to come with it, but ultimately, I guess you'd be a little naive to think that everything was going to be kind of smooth sailing after a major neck surgery. But I think this is something that just needs to be corrected, with an aggressive, probably time-consuming, shoulder rehab, and that's kind of why I want to start concentrating on that before I do a lot of baseball stuff. I want to get this under my belt so I feel comfortable with it. But, according to, both the doctors that I went to, that's very possible, assuming everything goes right and assuming that, we get the shoulder back working the way it's supposed to be able to throw overhand like that.
So if you watched the show last night, you know that Ken here was not overly optimistic about David Wright. And he comes out today, and usually he's very optimistic, treats it just like any other injury. He did call it a bump in the road, but it seemed like he was guarded and cautiously optimistic, maybe more than usual.
The word that came to my mind watching that is wary. I think David Wright is wary of talking about all of his injuries and all his recoveries. And if you counted the minutes he's discussed talking about his health versus the minutes discussing baseball in the last 2 years, it would be depressingly one-sided for David.
What were your impressions listening to him?
It was interesting because I think he is guarded at some level for sure, but I think at the same time he wants to get, to your point, he wants to get the discussion of injury off his back. I think he can go maybe concentrate on getting the shoulder better. I still think he's not quite sure if it's going to recover. I still think he's not quite sure if he's going to be able to throw properly. But right now, I think the doctors are saying, don't do any baseball stuff because all of it may continue the inflammation, which causes the impingement, and you're not going to really see whether or not you're improving unless you shut it down.
Right, that was my next question, because initially Sandy Alderson, when he announced this injury, said, well, David can swing, no problem. It's just the throwing that's the issue, and we still know the throwing was the problem. But it did occur to me, listening to David Wright today, that he could still swing the bat and keep up with his timing and keep up with his teammates right now, but he's deciding to play it safe and just get better and not risk the possibility of swinging a bat, giving him the further impingement.
Yeah, and maybe the point to that is exactly what we're talking about right here is what good is he really going to be doing to the Mets if he can't throw? Because there's 17 guys with a first baseman glove, as we determined last night. And if he's just going to say, hey, I can't throw, I'm going to go over and try first base, he's still unproven whether his body's going to stay healthy enough to swing and hit and be productive at first base, too. So I think he's trying to get this monkey off his back, figure out if he can throw before he decides really what his future is going to be this year.